VikesNow, I am Dustin Baker, the first episode after the 2023 NFL Draft that we had so many episodes predicting, which I was wrong on a bunch of stuff. Shame on me. They picked a wide receiver, not a defensive lineman. My bad. I was wrong. A lot of my predictions, no good. Don't listen to this guy. But moving forward, I want to look at how the draft broadly impacted the team. Now, in the coming days, I'm not sure which episode, maybe with Josh, we'll unpack each player that's new. But in the immediacy of the draft, I want to go over items that we learned about the 2023 Vikings and beyond based on these 6 picks and I guess 15 undrafted free agents. So these would be rapid fire, and I will start in no particular order. These are things that we learned after the Vikings draft based on what Kwesi Adofo-Mensah did those 3 days in April. The first is they like their existing cornerbacks. They had a golden opportunity, write it down in blood, to draft Joey Porter or Deonte Banks, and they said, no thanks. We're going to get embarrassingly rich on offense and get Jordan Addison, who is, knock on wood, a sure thing wide receiver. He's not a boom or bust type of talent. He's going to be good, it's just a matter of how good. But they said no thanks to a cornerback, and they didn't draft one until round 3. Mackie Blackman, and that's fine and dandy. Perhaps he will eventually start, or Jay Ward can slip over to the slot. But one of the big question marks, because of the lack of oomph in free agency besides Byron Murphy, was what are they going to do with these cornerbacks? Cornerbacks got to be the first pick, right? Joey Porter was staring you in the face, and you let him slide all the way out of round 1 to the Steelers, his dad's hometown team. But yeah, so there's no other way around it now. They've got like 5 or 6 guys that are going to make the roster, and of all of them, Byron Murphy is the only commodity that we know for sure is good. The rest are maybes. So what we learned is that Brian Flores, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, and Kevin O'Connell, they like these cornerbacks. This guy and you guys and gals may be nervous about them, but evidently they are not, because they would have otherwise prioritized CBs in free agency or in the draft, and for the most part, they didn't. It will be the Byron Murphy, Andrew Booth, Caleb Evans show this September, and we'll just hope that they stay healthy and turn out to be good. And it kind of makes sense. I mean, they drafted Evans and Booth. We might be like, yeah, are those sure thing solutions? But to them, these are guys that they love, so they're rolling with them. Number 2 is Dalvin Cook's days are numbered with the Vikings. If you needed more evidence, you got it in the NFL draft. So the first bit of evidence was in March when they re-signed Alexander Mattison for 2 years and $7 million. Bada bing, you got Mattison, you got Ty Chandler, a rookie last year, and Kene Nwangu. That's 3 running backs that can formulate a running back by committee that the Vikings haven't had in probably forever. Meanwhile, Dalvin Cook's still on the roster. There's rumors that he was going to be traded early March to the Dolphins, rumors that he failed the physical, rumors that the deal is done. They're just waiting to consummate it until June 1st when it makes financial sense to the Vikings, rumors that Dalvin would be released, rumors that he'd be traded during the draft, and then none of that has come to fruition. He's hanging out, still on the Vikings, evidently not going to take a pay cut. His agent is frustrated with the team, its play calling, and it seems that Dalvin Cook is on his way out. But he did not exit the building during the draft, which was a possible or reasonable solution. The only thing that never really made sense about Dalvin Cook being traded in the draft is the draft was absolutely peppered with young running backs. Why on earth would they go get a soon-to-be 28-year-old who's coming off a shoulder surgery when they can just go get their finest dude from UAB like the Vikings did, or the UCLA guy, or Texas A&M, or Texas? Any running back that came out of this draft has the upside to be a target hog. So Dalvin Cook wasn't a priority to move during the draft. However, with his hometown affiliation with Miami Dolphins, perhaps he'll be traded there. But I'm here to tell you that the 2023 Vikings, sure, they want to run the ball more, but they do not need Dalvin Cook, Alexander Mattison, DeWayne McBride, Ty Chandler, and Kene Nwangu. They ran the ball the third least in 2023. They don't need all of those guys to make it better. And I believe Cook will be traded probably right after June 1st, if not released when the financial burden is a little more soothing and less egregious. So Dalvin Cook's been with the team for a long time, and it seems like with the DeWayne McBride pick in round 7, who is a wrecking ball running back, I don't think Dalvin Cook works here anymore, probably at the start of the summer. Number 3, what we learned, big name linebackers are not required at all for the 2023 Vikings. There's, outside of a trade, there's really no outlet for the Vikings to go get a household linebacker. Why does that matter? Well, for 7 seasons, the Vikings employed a twosome of Anthony Barr and Eric Kendricks. Neither one of those guys plays football for the Vikings anymore. And as of right now, we have Jordan Hicks and Brian Asamoah as the starters, possibly with Troy Reeder filling in the depth, and then Ivan Pace, an undrafted free agent, possibly making the team. But Brian Flores came from the Steelers as a linebacker coach. Linebackers are one of his babies, one of his niches. They had an opportunity by trading back, not drafting Addison, maybe sliding down 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 spots to get Trenton Simpson and Brian Breesy. Get them both. Pair them on the same team from college, put them on the Vikings, bada bing. They didn't do that. They stuck with Addison. And through their draft picks or lack thereof, linebacker was not a priority, at least drafting a youngster like Jack Campbell or Drew Sanders or, again, Trenton Simpson. No thanks. We got Jordan Hicks. We got Brian Asamoah. We're going to go comb the UDFA wire and get a bunch of guys that most of us have never heard of. So, the days of the Vikings defense, especially the 4-3 version of Zimmer, wanting monsters of rock, Eric Kendricks and Anthony Barr in the middle of the defense, are dead. You have a maybe good Brian Asamoah and a decent performing Jordan Hicks. So big name linebackers were not a priority, and unless they go into free agency, even in free agency, it's Deion Jones and Zach Cunningham and Kyle Van Noy, just guys, dudes that can tackle, which is important, but no big name Kendricks or Barr on the Vikings anymore. Number 4 is the Zadarius Smith mystery continues. 7.5 weeks ago, that guy said goodbye to the Vikings and Minnesotans in general on Twitter, and then absolutely nothing happened. One thing did happen. It was crickets. We were like, all right, Zadarius doesn't want to play here anymore. We'll get him shipped out of town. But then some of his money guaranteed against the books because they didn't do anything. And then he wasn't traded during the draft. And then before that, they signed Marcus Davenport to play, Zadarius Smith's role in the 2023 defense. So unlike Cook, there's real true blue mystery on Zadarius. I'm pretty sure Cook won't be with the team. I'm also pretty sure that Zadarius ends up being released or traded, but nothing's happened. We've been doing this for almost 2 months now, trying to figure out where he fits in on the roster, and it's all because he was the one that preemptively said goodbye. I'm out of here. We don't know what prompted that tweet, but it was, emphatic, said, peace, I'm out. So his mystery continues. I'm going to guess it's like Cook's, where we see movement 1 month from today on June 1st, when either cutting or trading him eases the financial burden. So you'll be on Zadarius watch indefinitely like we have been for 7.5 weeks. Number 5, the Vikings got, again, embarrassingly rich on offense. Who'da thunk it? You hired an offense-first head coach in Kevin O'Connell, 14 months ago? And then your first pick in a draft where you could have gone in about 10 different directions, trading up, trading down, staying put, drafting a corner, drafting a safety, drafting a wide receiver, trading up for a quarterback, drafting Will Levis. You had all of these options known to man in a very mysterious Vikings draft. What did they do? They drafted Jordan Addison to become richer alongside Justin Jefferson. In those games where Justin Jefferson is clamped down, was there 3 or 4 of them last year where they sold out, neutralized him, and it worked? The Vikings lost. Well, we're not going to have that anymore. If you're going to sell out, you're going to stack coverage on Jefferson, we have the finest Jordan Addison for you. And hopefully, he'll eat and have 150 yards while Jefferson has a little whimper with 20 yards. But in the end, if the Vikings win, nobody cares. So the pick was a wide receiver. It was a need. Adam Thielen left. KJ Osborne was probably one of the, quote, losers, end quote, of the draft, because we kind of thought that he was tunneling toward a WR2 job. No cigar. If Jordan Addison doesn't beat him out, then we got a problem. It'll feel like Lewis Cine last year. But, the priority for this team, they, with their actions, showed we are an offense-first enterprise. Our goal is to score 28 points a game while holding the other team to 27. That's how the roster looks right now. We shall see how much of a difference Brian Flores makes as a defensive coordinator, because the personnel, you lost Tomlinson, you lost Patrick Peterson, you lost Eric Kendricks. Right now, they're just more affordable, faster, and younger. And then you have Brian Flores in the saddle to make everything better. We'll see if it works. Winding down the show, I got 3 left for you. The offensive line through draft actions is in good shape. Did you see an offensive lineman drafted during the draft? I sure as hell didn't. I know they went and got Jackie Chan or whatever from the undrafted free agent wire and Alan Alda or something like that. Those two named 2 actors. I can't remember their exact names, but they got a couple interior offensive linemen from undrafted free agency who probably won't make the team nor the practice squad. So what you see is what you get for this offensive line. What you can hang your hat on if you're like nervous about this is its continuity. It's the first semblance of offensive line total continuity the Vikings have had since I was in my mid-20s. That's awesome. Still, Kirk Cousins was under siege a lot in 2022, even though it felt like they were better. They weren't great. They were decent. They weren't horrible. And that was one of our big asks about the offensive line is, can Chris Cooper, Wes Phillips, and Kevin O'Connell make this era of offensive line futility be done? Yes, they did, but it wasn't perfect. So we shall see if this continuity, that's all it is mere continuity. It is not the addition of sexy big-name free agents, expensive ones, or high draft picks. It is the same five-some running it back. And you've always got Chris Reed at your disposal if Ed Ingram doesn't improve. So the offensive line must be in good shape per their estimation. Otherwise, they would have used probably their second pick, that third rounder, on an offensive lineman. All right, probably one of the most scintillating topics of the show is Jaren Hall. The Vikings have the almighty lottery ticket on that BYU dude who's 25 years old. This guy will be fun. I don't know if you've checked out the YouTube stuff on him from the Vikings draft aftermath coverage. He sounds mature as they come. He sounds like the anti-Mond. Kellen Mond was pretty cool. But this guy, Jaren Hall, sounds polished. And I challenge you to put on some of his tape from his BYU days. And what he looks like is an anonymous version of Kyler Murray, the way that he plays. A similar stature. Hall has decent arm strength. Kyler Murray has otherworldly arm strength. Jaren Hall is fast. Kyler Murray is faster. And Kyler Murray wasn't 25 when he came out of the NFL draft. But you'll see many flashes of Kyler Murray when you watch Jaren Hall. And this is what we got for life after Kirk Cousins for now. We knew they would draft a quarterback because on the depth chart it was only Cousins and only Nick Mullins. They needed one more guy, and apparently that will be Jaren Hall. So I think this guy has the capacity to be good. He's got a quarterback's name, Jaren Hall. Yes, I'm weird like that. I swear that other than Ben Roethlisberger, most quarterbacks' names are memorable, short, to the point. And yeah, I know that's because in the aftermath you see that they're good and then you remember their names. But Jaren Hall sounds like a quarterback's name. Put me down for that. He's got the swagger and the persona. Like I said, go listen to him. You hear him talk. He sounds like a quarterback. And I think he has the intangible stuff. He's mobile. He'll be fun. And at the very least, if he ends up being an absolute waste like the Kellen Mond pick, the very least, you'll sit down for these preseason games in August, and it is not guaranteed to be a horror show sponsored by Sean Mannion. You'll have excitement in that second or third quarter whenever Jaren Hall checks in, that you're going to see a guy who's probably a little bit less robotic than Kellen Mond and therefore should be exciting. The goal would be for him to look like Kyle Sloter in those preseason games so you can get ultra excited about his trajectory to take over the offense in 2024 or 2025. But I will taper enthusiasm on Hall, not because I'm a downer, but most of these guys from the draft's 5th, 6th, 7th rounds don't work out. It's flat out the truth. You'll hear the episode or the example 100 times about Tom Brady and rah, yay, but he's like one of the only ones that ever made it work. Most of these guys are QB2s at best, so it'll have to be very uncharacteristic for Hall to surprise us and turn into the quarterback of the future. However, you can jot me down. I think this guy will be better than Kellen Mond, and I liked Kellen Mond, but I didn't like him quite as much as this. Only thing Mond did was offer mobility. He never had the stylistic skill set that you would want, even watching his Texas A&M stuff at this time 2 years ago. In my opinion, Hall has that. We shall see if it comes to anything. And then finally, this one is probably menial in importance in the grand scheme of things, because at the end of round 1, you had Will Levis and then Joey Porter available on Friday night at 6 p.m. Central Time. It really felt like limited draft capital for these Vikings was a harsh reality that smacked you in the face. Because once you stayed put at 23 to draft Jordan Addison, you couldn't start the domino effect of trading down and stockpiling all these picks to have, more scratch-offs. Let's say, for example, the Vikings were like, yeah, we like Jordan Addison, but we want more bodies. They could have traded the 23rd pick, maybe down 6 spots, and got an extra second rounder if you wanted to be greedy, or an extra third rounder. Or you could have traded all the way back into the top of round 2, so to speak, and got an additional high round third rounder from a team. But when the moment they chose not to trade out of that pick, they were strapped for draft picks, because the only way to get more picks in that event was to start by trading the 23rd down however many spots and then just making it a domino effect. Oh, yeah, well, we traded from 23 to 36, and we got an extra 75th pick in the draft. Well, now we're going to trade the 36 4 more spots and get another 115. That would have been the blueprint to get into the draft sweet spot and draft 8 guys instead of 6. They didn't do that, and you could feel it in your bones seeing Joey Porter available all day Friday, knowing that there was probably nothing the Vikings could do about it. And why is that? Well, they didn't want to meet the Steelers' probably Herculean asking price, and they did not have the draft assets. So this isn't nobody bungled this. This was just the reality that you spent your draft picks, for the most part, the second rounder, on TJ Hawkinson, which was really just a pick swap, a trade down 3 rounds to get one of the best tight ends in the league. And then you still have your maybes and Jalen Reagor and Ross Blacklock, and then what we think is a pretty decent commodity in Caleb Evans. All of those men were obtained through trading this year's draft picks. You can look at my stuff on Twitter. I tweeted out what the real draft haul should be, and it should have those names: Hawkinson, Evans, Blacklock, and Reagor, for better or worse. All right, that's all we got. I'm not sure what we're going to do the rest of the week. I know we got Josh Fry Wednesday. I got to see if Viking Central is going to join us again tomorrow, or if that is the following Tuesday. I guess I haven't announced that on here. Every other Tuesday, Vikings Central Brett's going to join us and chat about the state of the Vikings. But that's all I got. Hopefully you enjoyed the takeaways, the things that we learned from the draft. And we'll be back. We only got 4 months till the regular season. And one of the next big things, the schedule will release in about a week and a half. Skol, baby.